Welcome to Just Blazor Programming, and today it's a very special video. Today we're going to get started on our MudBlazor journey. If this video does really well, I'll continue going on that journey. If not, then we're going to pivot to something that more people like. But according to the poll I put out, yes, there is now a community tab in case you don't know, and I put out polls on there that allow you to vote on whether or not I should do X or Y. And that poll suggested whether or not I'm going to do a MudBlazor intensive series, a tutorial series, just like my Blazor basic series with MudBlazor. And most of you said yes, you would like to see more in-depth look into MudBlazor and its different components. So that's where we're gonna get started today. Today we're gonna get started with the the installation process, the wireframes, the layout. We're gonna get into the very basics of it before we get into more in-depth stuff of MudBlazor. I think it is a very interesting library, and there's a lot that it has to offer, along with some caveats along the way. So in this case, I thank you very much, and if you want your voices heard, please put that stuff in the comments section. I do read all your comments, and when I do have polls out, I do listen to them. So in this case, democracy will prevail, and MudBlazor is now on the plate. So let's get started with our intro to our MudBlazor Basics series. Alright, so let's get started. Obviously, you need to install MudBlazor. Now, there are two ways to do this, whether you want to put it in an existing project or put it in a new project. Now, the focus of this tutorial is going to be the actual components and stuff. So if you want to see where the components are, you got to go to the docs and wait for it to load. And then here's where all the components exist in. So, if you just go to the front page and you try to find it here somewhere, it's not going to be there. You have to go to the docs to find it. So that's just a little tidbit there. But anyways, installing it is pretty simple. You just got to open up your command line, views app, PowerShell, whatever, and make sure you write the .NET new command install templates. So I'm going to show you that I can do that right now. I've already done this before, so it's not going to install anything. I have the command ready, .NET new, -- install MudBlazor.templates, and it's already installed. Obviously, because I installed it already. That's all you got to do. And now your computer is ready to have these templates installed. So you can do one of two things. We could also run the next thing that will create a WebAssembly project using the MudBlazor. However, because I just want to save time, I don't want to get into doing the WebAssembly stuff right now, I'm just going to create a server project because it lets you. Or we could also add it into an existing project that we have. We just have to make sure to add the package as a NuGet package within whatever project we have, and then add all the imports that we need into it. So it's very similar to any other package you would install in your project. You have to use that using. You have to add the links if it has style sheets in them. Make sure you add the package through .NET through NuGet, and if there's any scripts, add the script as well onto that same page where all the scripting and stuff is on. But we don't have to do that. If you're gonna start a brand new project, it's actually quite easy. Once you have the templates installed, you can already create a new one without writing any code or whatever, or without taking an existing Blazor project that does not have this. And you can just create a new project. And now we have one specific to MudBlazor. What you gotta do is look for it if you have never used it before. And here it is, the MudBlazor template. And this will give you a choice on what kind of project you want to make. So we'll just call it Mud Project. Next, yeah, my name is Kareem, by the way, in case you don't know. And the type I could choose is, WebAssembly hosted, PWA hosted, or server. To save time and energy, and the fact that this is a MudBlazor specific tutorial, we're gonna go with server. It does not change very much, to show off what MudBlazor can do and how to do it. If I use server, it just saves me time in case there's any issues with any other Wasm hosted stuff. I haven't actually tried them out with MudBlazor, but I have tried the server one out and it works just fine. Well, here's creating the project. The project is very similar to your normal Blazor Basics one. The difference is obviously it's going to be using the MudBlazor layouts and the MudBlazor, UI stuff. But as you can see, everything that the normal Blazor template brings, all the razor pages and all the classes or whatever it has, is the exact same. Obviously, the difference is going to be when you look at the layout, it's using the mud components instead. So, without further ado, let's go look at them. And this is the mud component that it has chosen. Now, don't worry, we could change how this looks like later. Actually, maybe in a few minutes, we're going to change this. So this is what it brings. You have your counter page and you have your fetch data. And this works essentially very similarly to how our Blazor works. So if I went to the nav menu right here, wow. I went to the nav menu. It's a little bit more compact, but if you just copy paste these, you can create your own nav links in there just with different names and such. Now, when you do go to the pages, make sure you still follow the same rules as those pages. So this page title still is from normal Blazor. In fact, everything behind the scenes is just Blazor. It's just that they created these components on their own. That's the library you're using. So there's nothing really, the special thing is that someone else did all the work for you in order to make this work, make it, add the UI into it. But you still have to follow all the Blazor rules. So that's why you still have your page up here. You're using something that already exists in Blazor, the page title, but everything else is a mud component in this case. And the code, wherever you write your code is also going to be the same thing. You could also do this in the code behind if you feel like it. So when you're using MudBlazor, don't be shocked by it. It is just using Blazor components as they're meant to be used. So they're just normal Blazor components that someone else wrote in order for you to use them to implement these UI, the look and feel of the UI. So we're going to look into this now. Now, if you go into MudBlazor, go to the layouts. This basically gives you a brief explanation of how the layouts work. So what we saw there is how that particular layout works, which I'll show you in the wireframe section, a little bit more. But it's really not that different from how the Blazor stuff works. You have your main, you have where you have to put all the stuff in there, like your nav bar, and they say they call it the app bar. The drawer is basically this box that's here. And the mud main content is actually the body here. So that's all there is to it. There's really nothing too special about this. Now, depending on what kind of layout you want and how you want to organize it, that's going to change the look and feel of it all. So where can we change all this stuff from? Well, when it comes to the navigation menu and things like that, there are more details in the docs page. But if we go to the frames, so as you can see, the wireframes come in different layouts. These layouts, this one right here is actually the one that comes with the Blazor template that it gives you. So we're going to just change this, and I'm going to show you just how easy it is to actually change it. So each layout comes with, whatever kind of form you want. So let's say I just want to keep the one that looks closest to the original Blazor project. I'm going to use this one. So all we got to do is copy the mud layout here. Make sure you keep this theme provider there. Important. Go back to the project. Go where your layout is. Oh, wrong one. Not this one. Main layout. Right here. Now, before you do anything, I'm just going to comment out. Now, you see here that these are commented out. Now, don't make the same mistake I did and try to run it right away, because what's going to happen is you're not going to have the nav menu. You're not going to have whatever the body is. In this case, is that MudBlazor, come to my website kind of thing. What you got to do is add the nav menu component here, and for the body is just at body, just that. And this should be enough to make this work like normal. Ta-da! So now we have, basically the same layout that we had. We had a different layout, but with the same content as before, and everything works as it should be with all the stuff in the body that we needed. And now we could turn this, it's a drawer, so it goes in and out. And that's really it for the layouts. There's another one in there, but you already know what to do here. And these are grids basically. So we'll get into that in a different video. But this is just getting used to Blazor and just very very, very basic stuff. The initial install and going over their layouts and stuff right here. So what I'm going to do right now is we're going to compare and contrast this layout here. We're going to get rid of the old one. Compare it to the one that looks the most similar to it. So these you need, according to the documents, if you want like the full access to all of MudBlazor's content, you're gonna need these three components. So the theme provider, the dialog provider, and the snack bar provider. I forgot what the snack bar is, but I know, but these are kind of self-explanatory. This is what gives you the theme that we're using. This gives you the dialogues that we're gonna use in a different video when I get to that. But what we're gonna discuss here is just the layout. So compare this layout, which is the closest one to what Blazor gives you, to to the one that Blazor gives you basically. Let's go over here. This is the main layout of Blazor, and this is my drag and drop tutorial in case you're wondering. But this one is very simple. It's just using the HTML elements, and it only really has two components here: the page title and the nav menu. So the nav menu is just it's just the Blazor component, normal Blazor component, and all this is doing is grabbing whatever the body is, similar to. Oh, it also layout component base as well. So yeah, that's where the body is actually coming from. So it's doing something very similar. And if I went back to here, it's also doing the same thing. Layout component base does not change. All that is changing are the fact that we are using purely Blazor components, and that's taking over all the HTML stuff that's on there. So there's a lot of stuff that's happening behind the scenes that you don't see that these components have that are within the libraries that I don't think we have access to. I don't think you can actually change any of the code behind all these components because they're just part of the library. So that is one of the things about using this MudBlazor library, or with all libraries really, is that you have to follow whatever rules they set out. So you are stuck with the whatever they want to write in here and how to write it. So you have an icon, you're forced to use something like this, or a color, or whatever edges, or on click. This is their this is probably just another on click. Yeah, it's just an event callback. They made their own on click parameter, but it still works the same way as the other one, like the mouse events. And there's nothing really too crazy in here about this. Getting started is actually really, really easy. And for a first video, this is actually kind of underwhelming. But with the next ones coming up, I'm going to make them, a little bit more interesting, because we're actually going to get into the nitty-gritty components. All this was just getting you started with something, especially with off the bat server stuff. There's really nothing to it other than just either creating the project manually or importing it. And importing it is also kind of easy. So we're going to try to import the MudBlazor program, or the MudBlazor project, into our program. So we need to import the library. There are a few ways to do this. You can follow the installation page and do it manually through PowerShell or whatever. But I'm going to do it the way that I usually do it, which is, point and click. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you that I do not have this installed. This is the menu for my reusable sample app. This is the same one that I use for my generic template project. And we're going to go to the dependencies up here under connected services, manage NuGet packages. So go here, manage NuGet packages. And then you'll see installed. There are no packages found, so I do not have MudBlazor here. So the easiest way to install MudBlazor is to go to the browse section and just write MudBlazor. And now you're going to see all these templates here. So we don't want that one or that one. We want either this top one or this bottom one here. So my rule of thumb is to double check whenever, it's usually to go with the higher number, but double check that this is written by the correct people, because look, here it says it's from the MudBlazor team, which makes sense to me, right? But here it says that it's 6.07 and created by a bunch of other contributors. So which one is the one you want? Well, the way to check this one is actually to go to the GitHub repo that you're gonna get it from, or that 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 you can get it from, is gonna be version 6.07. So that's basically how I'm gonna double check it, and that looks pretty much okay. And this has a lot of contributors in there, so In this case, I think I'm fine with using the 6.07 version. I believe the version I have is probably this one here for the server side, but this is probably just fine. So we're just gonna install that. And now we go back to the dependencies. Shouldn't have done that, but installed. Boom, we have MudBlazor in there right now. So we have to do other stuff as well. We have to do other things as well. And one of the few things we gotta do is do all the imports that we did before. Whenever we did the JavaScript project, we have to do something like that here as well. So whenever you have something like a new library, you have to import it first. So in this case, we're importing MudBlazor in the imports.razor section. And then we're gonna add all the like the link, the script, all that stuff. We have to add it into this project as well, along with the services. That's usually all the things you need to do. So if I go to where all that is, find it. Here we go. Not only that, but you're not gonna need Bootstrap anymore, since if you're gonna use this, you don't want to mix and match them. They're gonna run into problems, so we're not gonna need this anymore. And then according to the installation page, we're gonna add these two links where we usually add that, where I just removed it. And we go back to it to get the scripts that we need. It says here that we could remove the site CSS file. You can remove or keep it. So site CSS, this one, all right, we removed it. Perfect. The script that I got, we're gonna put it down here. Other scripts, MudBlazor.min.js. So it is a JS file behind the code. Or there's some JS stuff happening behind the code. It doesn't necessarily mean that all of it is JS. Obviously, they're all components. So the last step we need is to add the services to it. So the services are all in this program.cs file. Whenever we start our project, this is where all the services go. Oh no, yeah, what the program.cs project. I'm blind sometimes. But here we just gotta add what it says to add here. So copy that. Take that there. Put the builder with the builder, and put the using MudBlazor services with all the other directives. So that should do it. But we're not going to see anything because right now we have no MudBlazor components. So we're just going to do what we did earlier, and we're going to change this layout to the same layout that we were using. Put that here. Now don't forget about the mud theme and stuff like that. So back here. Where is it? Here. This, you need to add that in there. These three components, we had them at the top as well. And also we need to make the drawer open function. So I'm just gonna snag it from the wireframe. They're all the same. Just copy paste that code there where the drawer open code is. They all have it. And we already did that before. Make sure you put that down here. So now it matches everything, all the wireframes and stuff that we worked with, along with these components. Let's try running it and see what happens. Okay, look at that. It don't look too good. And the reason for that is because all the other stuff, you know, you have to put MudBlazor components for everything else. So it's not just easy peasy. Oh wow, I'm actually impressed that this one works. The JS one that we made, the drag and drop one, that one works in there. That's funny. So everything here is broken now because we have to change all the components from the original Blazor components we were using before in the original HTML into the new MudBlazor components. That's why everything looks like garbage right now. Everything here is just, everything here is more or less broken. Oh, that works, but the button's gone. Like, I removed all of jQuery, not jQuery. I removed all the Bootstrap stuff on it so that they don't interfere with this library. And then now we will have to go to the process of changing the nav menu, changing all the components, and adding all the MudBlazor stuff that we need in order to make it look nice, like we have it in the other server projects. So if you do want to add MudBlazor into your project, make sure that you're willing to do all the work necessary to make it match that theme, because it's not going to be a simple, no. As you can see here, I did this in real time. I did it raw for you guys to see that this isn't a simple process of just copy paste code and you're done. I'm very impressed that the actual theme does work, as we see here. So that's actually functional. But everything else is up to you to start adding. If you go into the server project that we created before with MudBlazor, everything there is a MudBlazor component. So there you go. Now that's why I would recommend that whatever project you go into, you already plan out exactly what library you want it to look like and all this stuff, because going back to it after the fact is going to be a real pain in the ass. So don't end up there. Try to avoid that at all costs. Just start fresh with the MudBlazor stuff already in there, with the new MudBlazor component, or not component, with new MudBlazor project, and you can avoid yourself the headache of doing what needs to be done here in order to make it work. And that's a big process, and you don't want to do that. So I like MudBlazor, especially when it's actually kind of easy to learn. It's also, nice to look at, and it's built on components that you already know, so you don't have to go through the process of finding a new library to use if you don't like Bootstrap and then implementing that into your system. They also have a new project available for you. So today I already taught you a little bit about how the mud layouts work, what MudBlazor is going to look like if you start it from a new project, and how to import it to one that you already have, even though it's going to be a lot more work in order for you to make that whole project work with MudBlazor, as they are all components that need to be replaced by MudBlazor components. So there you go. That's all there is to it this time, guys. I know this was a little choppy here and there, but there wasn't too much to say on this. But don't worry, we'll be diving into a little bit more of those cool buttons and all that stuff later on. So thank you for being with me, and hopefully this MudBlazor journey is going to be great for everybody. So, see ya, and like and subscribe.